like I need to have a good morning song. What do you think? So come on in. How's everybody doing? How was your New Year's and your holiday? And for those of you who enjoy snow, you got your snow. I'm not going to say we got too much or too little. We got just enough. We don't need any more. We don't need any less. I'm good to go with the snow. Could be a little warmer. So, got a lot to talk about today. I've been reading and researching and doing all kinds of, I don't know, thought-provoking things that I want to talk to you about. But first, we want to talk about some events that are coming up. I do have the online empowerment class that I'm doing with Rose Claire, and that starts January, I think, 16th. You can go online, go to the website. You can join for either, each month, or you can do the whole year. I'll be in Bel Air, Maryland, January 20th, 21st, as well as February 10th and 11th. And I do have openings in my schedule for privates. We can do them Zoom, in person, however, or if you can't wait for the class, I can't wait for the class either. It's gonna be super exciting. Gosh, I'm excited about it. I don't know how else to say it. And then we're working on the women's retreat that we're looking at being in October again, but only this time we're going to be at the beach. So we're finalizing that before we announce some dates. So let me get a. So I already asked you how you guys are doing. Today I want to talk to you about reincarnations and past life regressions and just the thought process of the possibility. Now, whether you believe or you don't believe, just hear me out. If you need to close your eyes and imagine the possibilities, to be able to open your mind and think about reincarnation, your past, who were you before you are you? So I've been reading a lot of books lately, which we've been talking about. And I've been reading a lot from Dr. Brian Weiss, who is a clinical psychologist and hypnotherapist. And he's written several books on past life regressions. And I've actually been regressed. I've facilitated regressions. I just did one for a gentleman the other day. And they tend to give you answers to possible questions that you have in this lifetime. Now, I know sometimes it may seem a little woo-woo and a little far-fetched, but I just want you to hear me out. Just think about it. I feel like my glasses are crooked for some reason. So, I truly believe that the soul continues after the body dies. The soul is this continuous reel that continues into infinity, basically, of a lifetime of learning and wisdom and experiences. It just doesn't end. It just doesn't stop. It experiences all different aspects of life from, this is like going to really bother me. You have all these different experiences of life from different views of your own lifetimes. So the first book that I read by Brian Weiss was Same Soul, Many Bodies, where he explained how he accidentally regressed a woman during a hypnosis. And there were so many things that he found evidence to. He was trying to help her. She had so many fears and so many phobias. And when he was able to put her in hypnosis and find out where this started, all of a sudden she was in a different lifetime and started talking about how these things came about. So other books that he's written, I just wanted to talk to you about them as well. Let me just see if I can turn my heat up. There we go. I should have done that before first. Messages from the Masters, which I've read. Through Time and Healing, which I've read. Only Love is Real. Haven't read that one. Yes, that's next. And Many Lives, Many Masters. Messages from the Masters is the one that I'm talking to you about, that I'm almost finished with. And I read that. I read these on the trails of Alberto Volandio's Shaman, Healer, and Sage, Mending the Past and the Healing and the Future, Soul Retrieval. So there are so many books that are out there that talk about the possibility of reincarnation. And these books speak to me. I have had so many questions and so many curiosities even before I practiced mediumship. Even before I was doing mediumship readings, I had questions about angels and archangels and guides and creator and consciousness, but I didn't know those were the actual words or the terms. I knew it as creator, as God, as heaven, as the the other side, if you will, and what it would be like to be in the presence of spirit. I mean, what is that moment going to be like? Maybe we already know what it's going to be like. And there's so many questions that pop up. So with my spiritual journey that I've been on, I've had answers about how the body leaves, how the soul leaves the earthly body. And that's what it's all about. Like, there is the body, there's the spirit, there's the soul, correct? So the body passes, the soul goes to rest or goes on to another, while the spirit continues around. My mother came to me in a dream years ago. She said she was going to be reincarnated, but she will always be my mother. Exactly. So there is a passage in this book of Messages from the Masters that I want to read it to you. And because when I read it, something clicked. Like, I felt like all of a sudden something made sense. And here's the passage, and it's on page 100. It says, "Remember," the voice said, "remember that you are always loved. You are always protected, and you are never alone. You are always a being of light, of wisdom, of love. You can never be forgotten. You can never be overlooked or ignored. You are not your body. You are not your brain. You are not even your mind. You are spirit. All you have to do is reawaken the memory, to remember. Spirit has no limit, not the limit of the physical body, nor intellect of the mind." So I love that it says is all you have to do is reawaken the memory to remember. And this is something that I have been talking about for years and thinking about for years. When I did I did an exercise myself years ago on consciousness where I stopped and I thought to myself, who am I? Well, I'm Stacy. Well, now who am I? Well, I'm a wife and a mother and a sister and a daughter. No, who am I? Well, I'm a worker and a co-worker and a business owner. And no. Who am I? And I kept peeling back these layers till the final answer was, I'm love. I am energy. I am a product of Creator. I am a creation. So when it said in there, you can never be forgotten or never be overlooked because you are a being of light, of wisdom, of love. Like, yes. Does that make sense? If you've ever experienced this thought process, and when you peel it down and you figure out what is left, there's an essence of energy and of love. That is the soul. That is what is left. the heart of the soul. The soul is love and energy and spirit. So if you've ever experienced deja vu, or like Regina had said about having a dream, and you feel like you've been here before, even if you've not been there before, and it just, whoo, like it's this deja vu. It's recalling a memory, but a memory from where? If you could stop at that particular moment in time and meditate about it and ask, why is this familiar to me? Why do I feel like I'm here? Maybe you would have an answer. Maybe a memory would appear from the past. Maybe you would get an answer of why this is familiar to you. So I want to talk to you about a few times that I've actually been regressed. And one time when I was regressed, and I feel as if this would have been the lifetime before my lifetime now. So I was regressed, and I can still vividly see it in my mind. I can still, gosh, sorry, I can still see how I was dressed. But I was on, it was like a wagon train, and we were being chased, and we were fleeing for our lives. And I remember what I was wearing. I remember the fear that I had. I remember, like, I was I don't even know what the right word is, but I was at the reins steering the wagon. And I can remember, like, this, the slap of the reins. We were under attack. I was in fear for my life. And I at one point, I turned around to look to see who was, how close they were. And I must have miscalculated where I was steering the team of horses. And the wheel went over this rock that broke the wheel and made the wagon fall over. And when the wagon fell over, I fell from the bench, the seat of the wagon, and the wagon, like, fell on top of me. Now, where it hit me was kind of at my stomach, my hip area. And I remember there being this pain in my hips, like whether my hip broke or whether there was a piece of wood through it or a rock. But ultimately, that is how I died. Now, hold on to your hats, because when I was born with a dislocated hip. Woo-woo, right? Now I have to figure out where I was at. And I wanted to tell you the story about the wagon train and the memory that I had to, go to, when I was born in 1964. I was born with a dislocated hip. And I was in a body cast. I don't know how long I was in this body cast to rejoin my hip in the socket, because I don't know if there wasn't a socket but it was dislocated. And I find that so interesting. I remember when I came conscious from being regressed, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how does that happen? How does that, there's this thought process with this. And maybe there was no real reason for why my hip was dislocated when I was born. I don't know, maybe I came out of the birth canal wonky. I don't know if my parents ever really told me if there was a reason why. But when I think about this regression, this past life, it lets me know this was the reason why. So, along with that memory, I have a very vivid memory of being a child in this cast, being outside, and my father using some type of tool to remove, almost like a saw, to remove this body cast from me. And my father was there, and my mother was there, and an uncle was there. And again, I can see it in my mind. And when I had this conversation with my mother before she passed, she was like, that never happened. That's not how your cast was removed. Like, that never happened. So why is it so vivid in my memory and still in my memory? Is this a deja vu of a past memory of a cast being taken off of me? Is this something that is going to be in a future memory? I don't know. This whole stuff just like it excites me, and I don't know, it interests me so much, this whole thought of reincarnation. I used to have this phobia of things around my neck, necklaces, turtlenecks. As you can see, I've got a necklace on, even if you put a sheet up too high to my neck. And I often thought it was because of a toxic relationship that I had been in and a situation that I was in. And that may be part of it. It may very well be part of it. But during a regression that I saw my whole life and who I was and what I did, at the end of my life, I was hung. And the reason that I was hung is because of a mistake that I had made. If you ever want to hear the whole story, I can tell you about it. So after knowing that I was hung, and I even saw friends of mine that are in this lifetime there that we've reconnected with. But after the realization of being hung and realizing, the mind realizes that maybe I didn't survive it in that lifetime, but I'm in this lifetime. Like that phobia, that fear has started to fade away. Like I don't have it nearly as bad as what I used to. Literally, even someone touching my neck or something touching me, I just couldn't handle it. I would feel like my throat was getting thick, or, I would have to take these deep breaths. So it gave me insight to why this phobia was about. And I've read tons and tons of case studies. I'm like becoming this, I don't know, seeker of wisdom about reincarnations. But I've read all these case studies where people who have phobias or fears of something, when they are regressed back to the time that this fear started, when they come out of the regression, that fear slowly goes away. So maybe it's being afraid of the dark, or you're claustrophobic. Maybe you're afraid of the water. Maybe you're afraid of lightning. Maybe you're afraid to speak out. So you have a very soft voice. But pretty much when they did the regression and came to that point in time and had an understanding of it, and saw what they were to learn in that lifetime, all of a sudden, that phobia started to go away. All of a sudden, that fear, there was an understanding of that. So when the mind has an understanding of a fear and what caused your death or what caused this phobia to come, but you realize that's now in the past and you're in a new life, all of a sudden you have this new understanding that maybe I am in this lifetime now to conquer what happened. So my hip was broken or severed and I died. And when I came back in, it was mended and now I'm alive. A little far-fetched? I don't think so. It's just so freaking interesting to me. Are you guys following me? Are you still with me? I can't see how many people I have on here. But let me know you're here. Then I regress more. I think more. I go deeper. And I think about child prodigies. I think about children who are 3, 4, 5 years old that just instantly, take to music. Or, there was a little girl on a talk show one time who just knew the periodic table, where she knew all of the capitals of the states, and she was like 4 years old. Yes, this could be taught, at a young age. Yes, I understand. But the periodic table, like, come on. Even when I was being taught the periodic table. I still didn't know the periodic table the way that I should have. But it's just, how do these child prodigies just, it just clicks with them mathematically, scientifically. There's this vast imagination and this vast possibilities of the truth behind this. So, now that I've talked to you about this may be the point where you need to just kind of close your eyes, think about the possibilities, and just hear me out. I promise you, I have not gone off my rocker. So when I was reading one of the books, this theory came up. And I didn't create it, but oh my goodness, I added to it a little bit. So Sir Isaac Newton, born January 4th, 1643, died March 31st, 1727. He was known for scientific methods, physics, alchemy, astrology, laws of motion, theory of relativity. But all of the things that he was known for, he really wasn't known for until after his death. Because as he was inventing, he wasn't really inventing them, but critiquing these and experiencing with these, everybody thought he was woo-woo. Everybody thought he was off his rocker. So not until he passed did things start to be written about this. So why was it written? Okay? So, in 1879, okay, Sir Isaac Newton passed 1727. March 14th, 1879, Albert Einstein's born. He passed April 18th, 1955. Also known for developing the theory of relativity. Having similar interests as what Isaac Newton did. Is it possible that Newton reincarnated to Einstein? I mean, 100 years later, this man comes in. Einstein, at the age of 17, enrolled in mathematics and physics teaching program, graduating in only 3 years. And that was in 1900. And I want you to think about that. In 1900. 5 years later, he has a PhD. He's 22 with a PhD. I want you to think about how long it takes someone to get a PhD. So I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying, is there a possibility of two highly intelligent men, a little bit more than 100 years apart, same focus, being one and the same? Or maybe Nikola Tesla, born July 10th, 1856, died January 7th, 1943. Both Einstein and Tesla lived around the same time. Both passed of heart issues. Okay? Isaac Newton passed of mercury poisoning. Do you know what one of the symptoms of mercury poisoning is? No? I looked it up. Heart problems. It causes heart damage as well as other things. I mean, nausea, vomiting, memory loss, hallucinations, things like that. And you know, when I was reading about that, you know how eccentric Einstein was. So was Tesla. And so was Newton. Just a thought. Just a thought. Just something to speculate on. And like I said, this is not something that came to me that I thought of. Something I read about in one of the books. But it was one of the case studies on past lives. Interesting, right? So I could literally talk to you guys for days about the possibilities of just the things that in my spiritual journey that I have experienced and witnessed and seen in the regressions that I've done on my clients, on regressions that I've had. It's not It's not a coincidence, guys. It just cannot be how many times does it have to be a coincidence till it's not a coincidence? It's wrapping your mind around the thought process of what if? So just like I think it was Regina had said about she had a dream, dreams are part of past lives as well. Have you ever had a memory so vivid to you, and maybe you're in a different century or you're, but it felt so real? Maybe it was a memory of a past life. I was actually speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and, I'm keeping all this tight-lipped. But this friend of mine is having difficulties with a friend of hers, someone that has been very much a part of her life for a very long time. And now all of a sudden, there's this strife between the two of them. And as we were talking, I had mentioned to her, well, what do you think caused it? And, because I want her to peel back the layers. We all have to assume responsibilities of both sides. And out of the blue, she said, do you know, I actually dreamt about meeting this person before I actually met him. And I was like, bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, you did? And she explained the dream vividly, which I won't go into. And then she said, and then I met him. And the friendship just grew. And this person was almost as a teacher for her, but ended up kind of switching a little bit where she became the teacher, let's just say. And the teacher did not want to be the student. Okay? So as I'm talking to her about these things, and I already have like a couple, flags going up. She dreamt about him beforehand, and because of what she was learning, and she's, we'll just leave it at that. And as we're talking on the phone, she was saying about all these pain meds she had to take because she had this pain in her back that was crazy. And I left her speak, and I said to her, I want you to open your mind for a moment and think to yourself, was this gentleman in your lifetime in a past life? And she just kind of laughed. Now she believes, she's got the will. And I said, you told me you dreamt about him before you actually met him. And you were telling me certain things that were going on. And because this dream that she had kind of coincided with some life events. And I'm like, and you feel as if you're being stabbed in the back? And she said, yes. I said, maybe your pain in your back is the physical pain of this lost relationship. Because the mind, the spirit, the energy remembers. Maybe in a past lifetime, you were stabbed in the back and killed by this person, or vice versa. And there's this karmic reaction now, this memory that's coming. And I'm like, just meditate on that. See if any answers come. And she was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I absolutely will do this. So how amazing would it be if she were to meditate and visualize and regress herself? There are things out there on YouTube where you can do regressions on yourselves, and there's guidance to it in the book. And like I said, I do past life regressions as well. I facilitate them. But how cool would it be if she discovered that in some point in time in a past life, either she killed this person by stabbing them in the back physically, or he did. And at the acknowledgement of that and the realization of that, all of a sudden the back issues go away, or they subside, or they start to heal. Did I blow your mind? Like, it blows my mind. The possibilities. And just studying it and thinking about it and reading about it. Near-death experiences where people talk about things that they've seen or they've done and how they, came above their body. It's so amazing to me. If you had a fear of something since you were small, but you don't know why you have this fear. Maybe it's from a past life. Maybe you have an odd-shaped birthmark. I have a friend of mine who is an author and a motivational speaker. She wrote this beautiful book. And I think the book is called 3 C's. Crack, COVID, and cancer. Don't quote me on but it's 3 C's. And she was explaining to me when I was doing a reading for her that she was on a respirator with COVID, and she lived, which of course she's speaking to me, so of course. But she said when she came out of the coma or what, she had this heart-shaped mark on her face that she did not have before. It's a little heart on her cheek. How does that happen? So, near-death experience, a couple times probably for her, and she has this kiss of love on her cheek as she comes back. I think it's amazing. So, like I said, how many times does it have to be a coincidence till it's not a coincidence? How many times do we rationalize things out and find what the human side is of it, because it's the not knowing what the possibilities are of the other side, because you can't really touch, feel, and see it, right? Or can you? And if you've had an experience with a near-death experience or a past life deja vu, or done a past life regression, or know about a past, I would love to hear about it. Email me, private message me. I would love to hear about it, because I feel as if there are so many things that we overlook in our humanness that we forget about where the knowledge comes from, where the experiences come from. If you were born with a fear, where did it come from? It just doesn't, you're afraid of water. And I mean, little kids are afraid of water, but you can get them in water and you can teach them how to swim. There are some people who are deathly afraid of water. I don't care how old they are. Why? Just something to ponder. Because as the quote said, you are not your body. You are not your brain, not even your mind. You are spirit. All you have to do is reawaken to the memory to remember. Spirit has no limits. It has no physical body or intellect of the mind. So the beginning of the quote said, and this is the part that gave me breath and snapped me. Oh, pay attention here, Stacy. The beginning of the quote says, you are a being of light, of wisdom, of love. You can never be forgotten or overlooked or ignored. And that last part where it says, never forgotten, never overlooked, never ignored, it gives me such peace when I think about those who have passed. Never ignored, never forgotten. They're a beam of light. They are spirit. They are light, never to be forgotten. Here, I wrote this down, but it was just coming off my head. Never to be overlooked or ignored, but a being of light that's surrounded in love and in protection. What a great way to view death. What a great way to view death. It's not really death, except of the body. There is still that light, that love within you, the soul. Interesting, right? Interesting. My mind just goes all over the place when I read these books, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I understand. I get it. And there's so much more to learn. We're not just earthbound. We're spirit, we're light, we're love. Why not meditate on it and ask a question? Who was I before? What did I learn before? Or be regressed. Have someone regress you. If not me, someone else. Just a thought process. If you've done meditations before and you've seen things in your third eye, where did those things come from? Spirit, light, energy, creator. I don't know. Just something to think about. And when I think about this, when I talk to you about this, that it's not really death except of the body, because their light and their love and their energy still shines within them, within you, within others, so that you can truly live the life you love and love the life you live over and over and over again. New experiences, new lifetimes, new knowledge, reacquainting with other people from a past life. I don't know. I believe. I've experienced it. And if you have, pop me a message. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, guys. You can open your eyes now. If you had your eyes closed, that you had to imagine the thought of what we were talking about. But this is truly a subject that, I don't know, gives me this burst of energy and clicks things into place. You know, share this with someone that you care about, or someone that you've talked to about reincarnation or past lives. But just roll it around in your head. Think about it. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Don't forget tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the podcast Connecting to Spirit on Bold Brave Media. I have Trisha Taylor, a dear friend of mine, who is going to be a guest. And we're going to be talking about like when things opened up, like what happened. All right, guys, I will see you either tonight or next week. Pop me a line if you've experienced deja vus, past life regressions, or near-death experiences. I'd love to hear from them. But you know what? Keep living the life you love and loving the life you live. Peace out, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.